Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm interviewing the great Brigade of Beans and we're just running through my basic interview questions. So I'll pass you over to them to do a little introduction.
Hello, everybody. We are Brigade of Beans. We have been a DID content creator since I think 2021, which is a bit insane. Um, we've been in treatment for DID for about 5.5 years, and we are studying a Bachelor of Psychology at university.
So could you tell me a little bit about like the diagnostic process for you and like how the DID care and access to care is in your country?
So I don't remember our diagnostic process very well. We did come to the understanding that we were likely a system before um, we had like a medical diagnosis, and it was that understanding that drove us to seek out a professional. In Australia, which is where I live, we have a youth mental health service called Headspace, which provides free mental health care with the caveat that it is pretty much, if it's not anxiety or depression, they're not going to be able to help you out with
Hmm.
things. So, just after I graduated high school, I moved 4 hours away to a different city. It was during COVID. All the world was kind of going to the dogs, but I sought out a GP who gave me a referral to Headspace when I was like, hey, I'm losing time. I think I'm having dissociative symptoms. I went to Headspace. I did like an intake interview with them, and they went, this is too complex for our care, and gave
Yeah.
me a list of other private psychologists. I then reached out to, I believe I was the first person I reached out to that I ended up having appointments with, who is still my current treating psychologist today. So I got linked in with her at in September of 2020. I don't know at what point I was given a diagnosis formally,
Hmm.
but I do know that by 2021 I had a formal diagnosis because I used it to get the disability support pension. But in that like year and a half time period, I don't know when the diagnosis was formalized.
Yeah,
My
that's
cat is
fine.
at my door.
So is the kind of situation in Australia, it's like a privatized system or kind of 50-50?
We are meant to have free public healthcare.
Hmm.
Um, we don't.
Ah,
There are like So there's Medicare, which does pay for a lot of things, but it'll often give rebates, so it won't pay fully for appointments. So what happens is oftentimes no, I'll rephrase that. Some general practitioners will bulk bill, which means there's no out-of-pocket cost. A lot of them will have a gap fee, and it's the same for psychologists and psychiatrists and any kind of specialist in the area. So it can be quite expensive, especially
mhm.
because a lot of ones who are fully bulk billed only do very like broad things. I tend to not be specialized in a specific area, or
Hmm.
they're fresh out of like university, brand new psychologists. And the Medicare rebates for psychology, you get 10-hour-long sessions for a year, which for anything that is complex is
Yeah,
not enough.
not
So then you're
cutting
just
it.
paying out of pocket. There is the National Disability Insurance Scheme, the NDIS, which is currently probably going to be undergoing cuts, which is really, really devastating. I am on the NDIS, but I'm only on the NDIS for autism, so it doesn't fund any of my appointments related to DID. So I still have to pay out of pocket for those. But if I'm seeing my psychologist for autism reasons, then I don't, then the NDIS pays for those sessions. But it's like
Ah,
specific funding, and someone who has no idea about DID decides the funding, and
ah.
it's all kind of a mess.
Yeah, that's almost similar to what we have in the UK. Obviously, we do like pretty much entirely have public health systems. There are private places, but with the public health systems, they tend to not cover things that are a little bit more kind of complex or lesser studied in like school and stuff like that. So it is this gap. Did you find that that kind of has affected or stunted, progress in therapy at all?
Not with my psychologist. I think I was very lucky to find the psychologist that I have. She is very, very good at her job. When it has come to other providers, especially psychiatrists, I have struggled a lot more to find anyone who has the availability to take on dissociative clients.
Mm-hmm.
And even those that say they have experience with it still have a very narrow view of what it actually is.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I'm very glad that you did find kind of someone who you've been able to work with for all this time. But obviously, the situation was
Yes.
like, yeah. But yeah, thank you for sharing all of that. What is one thing you wish that everybody knew or kind of understood about DID?
That it is so incredibly varied. There
Hmm.
is no one right way to have DID or not have DID. There are commonalities when it comes to DID. Like oftentimes you do kind of have like archetypal alters, like you'll have
Hmm.
protectors or caretakers or host parts, but those aren't required anyway. There's common experiences with amnesia, but two systems experiences with amnesia can be so vastly different. And then when you get into like the more nuanced things, the nitty-gritty things, it is so person specific.
Hmm.
It can be impacted in from what I've seen by what you grow up around. So especially if you're in DID spaces as like a young teenager, that's probably going to impact your system.
Yeah,
Not to say that they're faking, but it's just because your environment is impacting your brain development, so it's going to
exactly.
do that.
Yeah.
Um, and I also think that the way that people present themselves online for anyone, regardless of DID or not, is can never be a true encapsulation of who they are because it's
Hmm.
impossible to fully put yourself forward
Yeah.
on the internet and like a practical reason, but also safely. So much of what you see online isn't a full representation of DID,
Hmm.
not because people aren't being authentic, but because to have a full understanding, you have to live with it and be in and day out and see the times where
Hmm.
someone can't film. And it's just so incredibly complex and varied. And
Yeah.
there's no one right or wrong way to have it.
Absolutely. I think that is the response I hear the most, commonly to that question is just it varies person to person or system to system. And that is something that is important and people do need to kind of begin to understand because you're absolutely right. Like you're only going to see kind of percentage or what the person is able to share or does share on the internet. You're not going to see the kind of raw moments where they can't share things. And you know, like my partner's lived with me for 3 years and they're only just now starting to really understand kind of what it's like to live with it because of how long they've lived with me and stuff. And like, yeah, I just think absolutely right. And it is the kind of answer I hear the most commonly to that question.
I think if you want a more uncommon answer as well, just for bonus things that I wish people knew, that sometimes DID is just silly. Like, yes, it comes from trauma. Yes, it can be horrific. But some of the things are so abstract. Like, one of our gatekeepers is a giant flying whale shark that, when he facilitates
Mm.
fusion, swallows alters. That's just silly. And
Hmm.
that doesn't mean that that's not still stressful and it doesn't still come from a traumatic childhood.
Hmm.
But it's also just silly sometimes, and
Yeah.
it's okay to laugh at it.
I think that's another thing. People forget that, it isn't all kind of doom and gloom. And like, I've had that experience, similar things where something has just been kind of like silly and lighthearted. I'm like sharing my experience of something that's happening internally, and people are like, "Oh my gosh, that's awful. I can't imagine it." And I'm just like, "No, I'm laughing. Come on, laugh with me." Like, but I think people can sometimes have this mindset that we're not allowed to laugh even about our own experiences because it is a really difficult condition, and the way it forms is obviously very painful. But it doesn't mean we can't also see kind of the funny sides of things and the silly sides of things.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, I don't know about you, but like I have alters whose entire role is to be silly and bring joy and just have a laugh. And
We definitely have some of those.
yeah, I just got the ones that like run around my flat screaming and stuff. What made you kind of realize or recognize that you might be a system if you can
Depends who
remember?
you ask.
Yeah.
We have, because of specific experiences, have had alters who have always known that they weren't our host. They were
Hmm.
told growing up that they were somebody else, so they have always known around. And this is Look, I don't like the film, but in, I believe, 2017, I think that's when it came out, we saw Split in cinemas. And it was the first time we heard the term dissociative identity disorder.
Hmm.
And we had parts who weren't our host parts, but were relatively like surface level alters who went, hang on a minute. This
Hmm.
is reflecting my experience. And we kind of went on a deep dive learning about it. And the host at the time was like, "Oh, this is just like a cool story idea for a fictional story that I'm going to write. I'm just going to research this to write a fictional story." Um, and slowly pieces started falling into place where we're
Yeah.
like, hang on a minute. But we also went, no, I don't want this. This comes from horrific trauma. There's no way that I want this. And then in our last year of high school, we started losing significant gaps of time. Like we would fall asleep. We now know we were just having dissociative
Yeah.
shutdowns. We would
Yeah.
fall asleep at like at the tables during lunch and then wake up and not remember what had been happening earlier in the day, which was very obvious. And our friends like, hey, something's going on. And then we mentioned it to a teacher, and the teacher's like, you need to see a GP. I was like, I've already gone to see a GP. The GP told me it was anxiety. And my teacher's like, please see a different GP.
Mhm.
Um, the other GP referred me to a different psychologist who also said it was anxiety. Anxiety does not cause amnesia. But then
Yeah.
I moved out of that town. It was a small town. There weren't many psychologists there. Um, but after we graduated, we did a lot of house sitting gigs. And so we were completely alone for like up to a month at a time. And again, that amnesia of noticing stuff moving around the house when there weren't other people there to move it. And then like having different parts interact with our friends on Discord calls and our friends being like, what the hell is this? Um, it, like the whole system kind of opened up when we had so much time by ourselves,
Yeah.
and it kind of been undeniable that something was going on. We
Yeah.
were pretty sure it was a dissociative disorder. We kind of didn't want it to be a dissociative disorder, which is why when we moved to where we are, we went and sought help to try and work out what was going on.
Yeah, that's I think it's like quite common for it to be like even something like the movie Split, like just seeing something that is like, okay, this is such a just like identity disorder or multiple personalities as sometimes it says, but like it just tends to be something like that that does make you think, hold on a minute, maybe this could be me, like maybe this could be what is going on. Yeah, I just think yeah, it's quite a common experience, and I think that a lot of the time people can kind of critique that being the way you find out. But I mean, to let's be real, like dissociative disorders go so undiagnosed for like years and years and years because a lot of people like, struggle to recognize it themselves, and like because of the media now, it's being recognized earlier, which is a good thing.
Yeah,
Um,
I never had the language. It's like,
yeah,
how could I have the language to ask for help when I didn't know what dissociation was? Like, I have
exactly.
dissociated for as long as I could remember, but I didn't know that that was what that was. So it
Hmm.
wasn't until I started researching this that I was like, hang on, there are words for these experiences, and
Hmm.
not everyone is having these experiences.
Yeah, yeah. Like I remember when I was around 13 years old, I really started to experience and notice that I was experiencing dissociation. But again, I didn't have the vocabulary or the language to kind of say this is what I was experiencing. So I'd like say to my carers, I just feel like I'm not here. Like I just feel like there's a thick wall of ice between me and the world. And like I'd be describing this all the time and being really distressed, and they'd be like, "Oh, it's just teenage hormones and it's just growing up." And I'd be like, "But I keep also like losing time. Every time I go on public transport, I literally zone out and I black out and I'm scared I'm gonna." And like, yeah, it would just be like blatantly describing these kind of DID experiences, but no one ever recognizing, this is what's going on, and personally not having the language. So I think like whilst the movie Split is awful, it's just good that there is some media now because it does help people, even
Yeah.
regardless of the condition, it does help people to be able to say, look, maybe I can take this idea to my GP or my doctor. Do you feel that being a system affects your social life?
I'm not sure.
Hmm.
When we're interacting with people, we first off, we blend a lot as a system, but we have parts that are pretty much consistently pulled forward. So external people don't, nowadays at least, don't often see overt signs of switching, don't often interact directly with other alters. We also, even if someone specific is fronting, really, really struggle to tell people who it is in person because our brain goes, one, this is probably going to change and I don't want to keep updating someone. And two, it's very vulnerable. So a lot of people who, especially like uni friends, who we do see at least once or twice a week, but who don't like know us super, super well, probably don't notice it. We get along with them. We also, as
Hmm.
a system, are collectively quite sociable, or if there's a part from something who's not sociable, they just won't leave the house. So like those
Yes.
interactions don't impact anyone because it's not witnessed. In 2020, when we were realizing we were a system, it was really, really difficult for our friends who were supporting us at that time.
Hmm.
Like it put them under a lot of strain. Like they were having to support someone who was consistently going through mental health crises, who was realizing this really complex thing.
Yeah.
We are still friends with all of them now, and like we all pulled through as a friendship group, but it was really hard on them, especially like having kids fronting and traumatized kids who didn't know how to
Oh.
communicate. Like it was very distressing for them. And I'm so grateful that they were there for us and that we had really, really good friends. And I think that that comes down to it as well. Like we very easily could have lost all of our friends if they were not the people that they are.
Hmm.
So, like, it is as much down to our friends having the resources and having the wherewithal to be able to help us, as much as like it not impacting them because it definitely did.
Hmm.
I also think that a lot of our friends are disabled or neurodivergent or queer, which automatically makes them more open and accepting to these
Yeah.
things. Like we are very open in our daily life that we have DID. We might not be telling people who's fronting, but we're referencing it, we're talking about it, we're making jokes about it. And we haven't lost any friends because of that. There are maybe people who think things, but they never say it to our face.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, I think perhaps the social impacts are more internal than external. It's like it's internal as well. It's not feeling close to friends because you haven't got to spend time with them because specific
Hmm.
parts get pulled forward, or it's being like, no, I as an alter specifically want to go out with my friends, but not actually being able to predict that and do that. So it
Yeah.
can make us feel socially isolated. That's why things like messages are so great because especially like our best friend, we just send voice messages and videos all the time, so we can just interact when we're fronting,
Yeah.
rather than having to rely on being in person. But that can be really, really difficult sometimes, like just not actually ever getting to see your friends because somebody
Hmm.
else is there.
Yeah, yeah, I think I can definitely relate to the kind of internal struggle of it affecting social life more than the external, to be real. But I think it's quite common as well when you do first kind of sort of discover that you have DID or that you might have DID, for there to be like a period of major destabilization when because you've just realized, yeah.
Yeah, we were not doing well.
Yeah, no, we had the same thing, and yeah, very lucky as well that we had a similar situation to you where the people around us were like, yeah, we can support this, we can stick by this, and like once I was at the other end of that, I was able to say, look, I'm so sorry that you had to witness all of that, but yeah, thank you for sharing about that as well.
That's all good.
If you could have one wish, like kind of relating to DID, what would that be?
I want to say something like, oh, that DID systems didn't exist because like trauma didn't happen. But honestly, selfishly, I just want to know why. I think
Hmm.
that's just a system-wide question of like, why are we like this? Why did
Yeah,
this happen? Like, I just wish not only did I have that answer, but that I could understand that answer. My psychologist goes, it's good that you don't understand why these things happen. It means you never do them. I'm like, no, I just want to understand.
yeah, yeah,
I
yeah,
just want
yeah,
to know why.
yeah. No.
Um, I could be altruistic, but I'm not. I just want answers.
Yeah, no, I hear that for sure.
It's tough sometimes, especially when you don't remember things fully, or like your
Hmm.
memories are late or complex or foggy, and it's like, I don't understand.
Yeah, it
I
is
just want
hard. I
answers.
think especially if you're neurodiverse and like I feel like for me personally, to process things, I need to understand every aspect, every angle, and I need to have it
Yeah,
laid out chronologically so I can analyze it. And when I analyze
which is
these
not how my
things,
brain works.
yeah, exactly. And then you've got the interaction of, oh yeah, I literally can't do this because of the memory fragmentation, because of the nature of things. But yeah, it can be very, very frustrating. It can feel like, well, I don't know how to process this because I can't spend hours looking at it in a very black and white way. And think yeah, that's definitely a kind of hard unless it's spoken about interaction as well. Would you like to share a little bit about your system's kind of internal structures?
So, for privacy reasons, I won't share everything, but the like surface level, the front layer of our system is pretty much always blended. We've
Hmm.
normally got like at least three or four people who aren't even fully there. It's like different aspects of four different
Yeah.
people kind of make up an amalgamation of a fronter. Our system is also very fluid. We will when we have splits, we'll often split several people at once who then
Hmm.
after a couple of months fuse back into a smaller number of people. And we have regular fusions, we have regular splits with people who like fuse together and then unfuse for specific circumstances. Like it's a very chaotic kind of makeup and hard to keep track of.
Mhm.
We have a lot of parts in our system. We have tracked well over 1,000 names. We don't often have that many parts active because of those fusions. Like some of these parts split for a month and then fused again. Like they're not
Mhm.
necessarily long-term members. We have what we call our front-facing system, which is basically like the most surface level that you can get. These are the
Yeah.
alters who are heavily involved in our day-to-day, frequent fronters, connected to frequent fronters. There normally sits about 20 to 30 of these parts. So these are our hosts, like our primary protectors. There's a bunch of kids in there too. And they are at this point in time, we have done a lot of therapy together that we are pretty regulated commonly, not always. And then as you go further back in layers, there's like deeper and deeper parts who have more complex trauma, who have different flavors of trauma, who have different time periods of our life, who, because they're less connected to front, haven't spent as much time in therapy, are still more distressed and dysregulated,
Yeah.
and they'll often come through in like waves. It's like a door opens up, we get a wave of new people, we
Yeah.
help them process, and they kind of go back again and like wait until, and we're like constantly triaging and working through things, which is very chaotic, and it feels like we never have a moment of rest.
Uh,
We also semi-regularly have small bouts of denial. Like it normally only lasts a couple of hours, but at least once or twice a week, there's like someone in our system or multiple someone who go, what if we don't have DID? Or
yeah.
what if we're actually a smaller number of alters? Like there's someone in our system who is so convinced that there's actually only like 12 of us, and like their mission is to try and work out who the real alters are. And I'm like, I there's not 12 of us, I'm sorry, but
Mm.
that's the reality that they're living in to try and comprehend everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, yeah, we don't have too many interjects, but like another fun fact about our system that I just think is kind of bizarre is we'll often split the child versions of characters, even if they're not a child version in whatever media we're consuming. And even if we split them as adults, there's just kid versions of them running around in our brain who often are cognitively more complex than a literal child because we split them as adults. But I'm like, why are you here? And why are there so many children?
Oh my gosh, that must be that's very interesting though to think like, just kind of splitting the child versions of characters. But I must say, I very much relate to that system structure, kind of describing it in layers, the front page. I've always described my system like an onion, like there's the
Yeah,
the surface layer, and then like right at the center is the very vulnerable kind of, parts that no one will see, probably not even me, but yeah.
they're there.
Yeah, they're there, and yeah, it does tend to come in kind of waves of like, this layer comes off, and then this layer comes off, and then it all goes back on again, and then it all comes off, so
Yeah,
I can very much relate to that. So thank you for sharing that because obviously it's quite a personal question.
that's so good.
Right, is there anything else you want to say about like kind of system structure at all?
Oh, that's it. We don't have a supervisual inner world.
Oh,
We have an inner world. We know that it's like there, but we don't see it or interact with it the same way we do the external world. It's and the people go, oh, so you have aphantasia because people systems with aphantasia have that experience. I'm like, no, I could close my eyes and visualize this ball really easily. I could like make
hmm.
something up in my mind, but we don't experience our inner world in parallel to the external world. It's more like this knowing of events taking place. Like there's still
Ah,
skills transferred, there's memories transferred, and there is bonds formed. But it's like those parts of our brain just like exist nearby each other, and then it's like a passive thing rather than an active
yeah,
thing,
yeah,
which
yeah,
I don't see many systems talk about. Since I've talked about it, some other people have gone, "Oh, that's me. I have
yeah.
that. Someone's put that into words." But I think it's not a super common experience, at least not that I'm aware of, and does really impact us because it means that we can't be like, okay, this part's in distress. I'll make sure that this caretaker is helping them internally. It's like, well, we can try and do that, but it's a bit wibbly
Yeah,
wobbly.
yeah, no, I can definitely relate to the kind of passive interactions. There's been lots of things where I've been like, someone will front and be like, right, this has just happened between these two authors, and I'm like, well, did you see it or whatever? They're like, no, I just know it happened because it happened, and like things happening in the inner world, that like nobody has witnessed or there's no physical kind of depiction of, but it definitely has happened. I think up until
It's your
recently,
brain.
yeah, yeah,
It's your
yeah.
consciousness. Like it doesn't have to have a visual.
Yeah, definitely. I think Yeah, I think inner worlds can be quite like people can be quite rigid about their expectations with inner worlds. A lot of people just don't have them, and some people have really rich inner worlds, and you know, so like it just kind of varies person to person. But yeah,
Yeah.
what would you say the first time you realized you might have DID felt like?
Again, going back to system realization depends who you ask. For the people that
Yeah.
always knew, it just felt normal. For the people who kind of worked out when we saw Split, it was kind of a, oh, hang on a minute, this is something. For those of us who are losing time, the host parts in 2019, 2020, it was both terrifying, but also we felt no emotions towards it. We're like, oh, these are the symptoms of DID, but I don't have that, so it's fine. And we kind of were so emotionally disconnected to it. And then all the whirlwind happened that was system realization and meeting parts and moving out and seeking professional support that we were just so busy all the time. Like we were overwhelmed. We were having much more vivid flashbacks and nightmares. So it was really, really, really intense. But it was so intense that we weren't really there. Like the nature of a
Yeah.
dissociative
Yeah.
disorder is that we kind of just kept going
Yeah.
and felt fine until we weren't. And then we'd have a moment and then we'd be back to being fine, but really just being numb and dissociated.
Yeah.
And it was really, really hard, but it also was just what was happening. So we didn't have a choice in it.
Yeah. Yeah. I hear you. You just kind of grin and bear it and just kind of you just get on with it really.
Yeah, like for some parts it was this, oh, aha, this makes sense. Like I can interact now, like I can be seen now, and there was these moments of joy for them
Hmm.
and excitement at getting able to interact with people and have fun. And then for others, it's like, oh my God, this is the worst thing that has ever happened to me in my entire life.
Yeah.
Especially with memory sharing and like seeing other alters flashbacks. That was and still is really, really difficult.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but is now just a part of our life.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's part of the furniture sort of thing. Well, I guess that brings us to the end of the questions. I've had a great time, doing this good discussion and interview. Yeah, thank you for joining and coming on. Yeah, it's been
That is
great.
okay.